Yo, what's good YouTube? It's Boardsy, and in this video, I'm going to be doing a comparison of the Roccat Burst Pro and the Endgame XM1. I've made dedicated reviews on both of these mice, but people really don't know which one to get. They're pretty similar shapes, pretty similar pricing, and basically pretty similar all around. So I'm going to get into the differences and which I think you should buy. I've had my XM1 for way longer, obviously, and the quality of it is still top tier. It is on par with the Burst Pro, which I've just received extremely recently. So with both of these mice, quality is not going to be an issue. Regardless of which one you buy, you're going to feel a high quality, strong mouse in your hand. It just doesn't feel flimsy, and I feel like that's something you can definitely benefit from. I'm not like anti lightweight mice, obviously, but I do like when my mouse feels strong. It's nicer to play with. Next I'm going to talk about is coating, and I feel like the XM1 wins. No way around it. The Roccat coating on the sides, it's pretty nice. It's like weird. It looks weird, but it feels nice in hand, and it's a bit more grippy than the rest of the mouse, which is just shitty, boring ABS plastic. And the fact that they had such a good, like, rubbery, literally perfect coating on the KPU, and then they fucking regress to this, it's kind of disgusting. But definitely XM1 coating is better, and if you do sweat a lot, and you play claw grip, I don't know, the Burst Pro, it would be a nightmare. Next time I'm going to talk about scroll wheel, XM1 scroll wheel. It's just not as good as the Burst Pro scroll wheel. Roccat scroll wheels are insane. It is very tactile. It feels nice on my hand, very bumpy. It's like, I don't even know. It's like being pegged, I guess. And now I'm going to talk about the clicks, and in my opinion, the XM1 fucking wins the clicks by a mile. It uses Omron 50Ms, and I would say the click feel is like most similar to that of the G Pro wireless. Very light, very snappy clicks. Mine haven't developed any issues in the fucking like 9 months I've had this mouse, so it's kind of insane. While the Burst Pro uses TTC, or not TTC, it uses Rocat's own Titan optical switches, and they're pretty heavy, and I'm just not a fan of them. They're like this weird, not mushy, but also not tactile. They're the most confusing switch I've ever used. They are pretty heavy, and overall, I'm just not a fan. And yeah, I mean, they just don't sound nice. There's no way around it. And you can see, like, just from putting my finger on the mouse in this video, it's already picking up sweat stains. So that's kind of a yikes, in my opinion, for the coating of the Burst Pro. And the clicks, I'm really just not a fan. Can I use them in game? Yes. Are they fun to use? No. And in my opinion, they could definitely go back to Omron 50Ms or just improve these switches. Some people are scared of double clicking with Omron 50Ms. It doesn't happen much on the XM1, so I'm not really sure if that is a true con or if that's just some fucking fear mongering. Now I'm going to talk about stock feet, and I actually do have some feet I can't talk about. I'm sure you'll be able to guess what they are on the XM1, and they are very nice, very smooth, but they are aftermarket feet. So they do cost more money, and the stock fee on the XM1, they are all right, but they aren't like the top of the top tier. While the heat treated PTFE feet on the KP, or the fucking Burst Pro, they are pretty big, like huge glides, and they are very smooth and pretty slow as well. This is the Neon pad, so it is a definitely a control pad. And the Burst Pro feet, they just aren't the fastest. It is a smooth, consistent, controlled glide, though, and that's something I'm a fan of. Side buttons, they're solid on both mice if you're going to need them. Cable, I have put zebra cables on both of these mice, but the stock cables, they are solid. The XM1s is like a better cable, more flexible and shit, but the Burst Pro cable, if you put it in a bungee, it will feel solid for like general use. You're not going to have any problems. Like the cable's not going to be hindering your performance in any scenario. But now I'm going to get into the biggest difference in these mice, which is the shape. And the main differences between these two mice are the sides and the hump. So the XM1 features curved sides while the Burst Pro features flat sides. It seems like many people are a fan of these flat sides because it just gives you a ton of room to place your fingers freely on the right side of the mouse. Like, just look at how much room I have for my pinky and ring finger. It's similar to like that of an ergo mouse. So for people with bigger hands, this will be a lot more comfortable, and especially with wider hands. So if you do have like pretty wide hands and you play a claw grip, the Burst Pro might be the god mouse for you if the XM1 feels a bit too small. For me, though, the XM1, since it does feel a bit smaller and a bit more like round, I guess, it has a more like rounded hump. It just feels a bit easier to be precise with. And I don't mainly claw this mouse, but just after all of the months, I've kind of gotten used to it. And it just, the XM1 is a bit more preferable of a shape, in my opinion. But obviously, shape is extremely subjective, which is why I usually leave it for last because it just you kind of got to take things into consideration based on what you personally are comfortable with. The XM1, it is a great mouse, definitely a medium-sized mouse. The Burst Pro, also a medium-sized mouse, but on the larger end of medium. It also has a very wide hump, and you just feel it in your entire hand. Like it fills out much more of your hand than the XM1. For fingertip, which is what I mainly do, I've started to love the XM1 with like a sort of flattened fingertip. It's really hard to do like an aggro fingertip with this mouse. It's just, it doesn't work. The Burst Pro, even try to do a flat fingertip like that, it's just very not desirable. Like there are probably 20 mice that I prefer the fingertip over the Burst Pro. Also, talking about aesthetics, obviously not all XM1s come with such a beautiful zebra paint job, but I still believe that the stock XM1 looks way fucking better than the Burst Pro. Just why is there the fake honeycomb design? I do not understand. Also, XM1 has a DPI button on the bottom. Burst Pro has a DPI button on the top. For anybody who cares. But really, just to give a quick roundup, I would say that the XM1 is a bit better on paper. Like it just has slightly better features, and in my opinion, the shape works better for me. The Burst Pro has flattened sides, a wide hump, and it's pretty good on paper. These switches definitely need a rework, though. The coding also isn't the best, which tends to affect me a lot when I actually claw the mouse. So for me, the XM1 still wins, but both of these mice are fine options, especially for the price point of $60. They're extremely affordable, and you're not going to go wrong with either, unless you have like really small hands and buy the Burst Pro. But in that case, you're fucking stupid and deserve it. But yeah, that's going to be all. Make sure to leave a like and sub, and let me know what videos you want to see. Peace.